Despite the proposal supposedly for a peaceful settlement with which Putin comes out to the public, his actions indicate the opposite. The dictator wants to continue the war. NATO is confident. One of the confirmations is the deepening cooperation of the Federation with the same outcast, which destabilizes the situation not only in the region but throughout the world.
Putin's visits to North Korea demonstrates and confirms the very close alignment between Russia and authoritarian states like North Korea, but also China and Iran. And this also demonstrates that our security is not regional, it's global. What happens in Europe matters for Asia, and what happens in Asia matters for us. And this is clearly demonstrated in Ukraine, where Iran, North Korea, China are propping up, fueling Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine.
Russia try in desperation to develop and to strengthen relations with countries that can provide it with what it needs to continue the war of aggression that it started against Ukraine. And you heard the Secretary General just reference this. North Korea is providing significant munitions to Russia and other weapons for use in Ukraine. Iran has been providing weaponry, including drones, that have been used against civilians and civilian infrastructure. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the deep concerns we have about China, not in terms of providing weapons, but in providing what Russia needs to keep its defense industrial base going.
In addition, Russia continues hybrid attacks on the countries of NATO's eastern flank. Finland, Estonia and Latvia, neighbors of the aggressor, as well as Lithuania and Poland, neighbors of Belarus, are suffering from provocations from the Kremlin. An artificial migration crisis, jamming of GPS signals, recruitment of criminals for minor acts of sabotage, espionage and information stuffing. The Kremlin is doing everything to destabilize the countries of the alliance.
Moscow routinely portrays the Baltic states as warmongers and Russophobes and has enlisted trolls and bot armies to spam social media with malicious content, according to their intelligence services, where language mistakes in disinformation texts used to make them relatively easy to spot. The widespread advance of artificial intelligence makes the challenge more difficult. Lithuania's top cybersecurity agency has warned. The Kremlin has sought to mobilize Russian-speaking minorities in Estonia and Latvia to solve internal divisions, mostly without success, Bloomberg publication writes.
Despite its efforts, Russia does not yet have the strength and means to carry out military provocations against the Baltic countries, experts assure. Analysts from the Finnish publication Ale, citing satellite images, claim that the Russian leadership was forced to transfer most of the reserves previously stationed near NATO borders to the front in Ukraine.
Russia scares the NATO countries with the World War III, but at least near Finland, it does not seem to be preparing for war. The garrisons and military bases of the Russian ground forces near the Finnish border are still almost empty, although Russia has announced that it will reinforce the forces. On average, 80% of the equipment and soldiers have been transferred to the war in Ukraine, says a high-ranking Finnish military intelligence source to Yle. The intelligence service estimates that after the end of the war in Ukraine, it will take Russia 3 to 5 years to restore the combat capability of its armed forces, while E publication writes.
The Baltic countries respond to the Kremlin's threats by supporting Ukraine and strengthening their own defense capabilities. Finland, which joined NATO in 2023, has increased defense spending to 2.3% of GDP, and Helsinki and Washington have signed a defense cooperation agreement that gives the United States access to Finnish military bases. A year ago, conscription into the army, which had been cancelled in 2007, resumed in Latvia, and the defense costs of Lithuania, neighboring Russia, amount to €1,800 million per year. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Larissa Petruc, UATV News.